Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and the Washington Commanders just got a 4th round steal in wide receiver Jaylin. Of course, with Braden Swinson and DJ Giddens available, I was leaning more towards those guys, but I'm here to tell you and break down exactly why this was a steal in the 4th round, man. This guy is 3 birds with 1 stone. I'm gonna have a comp for you that I really like for him. I have his team fit, which is where the 3 birds and 1 stone comes from. And also, I mean, what does this mean for Luke McCaffrey? Sam Howell got traded. Shadir Sanders finally got drafted. We're gonna talk about all that and more, but of course, like, 95% of the video is focused solely on Jaylin, but I want to bring up Sam Howell just for the fact that you need to trust every Adam Peters decision until he no longer deserves it. And I'm also going to show you some of his all 22 clips of him out there balling out, getting open, opening up the offense. I have some advanced stats for you and everything too, but before we get into everything, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting the videos, pulling up for the live streams. I'm trying to make sure I get this video out the way quick enough to where I can already be live streaming by our 6th round pick again. So make sure you stay tuned for that. Make sure you pull up for that. Appreciate everybody that pulled up for the live stream for us to get Jaylin and all of that. That was fun. I'm gonna be back for the 6th round as well. And without further ado, let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, and of course, the Washington Commanders selected Jaylin out of Virginia Tech with our 128th pick in the 4th round. And you can see his highlights playing right now, the all 22 clips. And you know I'm here to break down everything about him, man. Strengths, weaknesses, athleticism, comp, ceiling, team fit, all of that, man. I have advanced stats, but I did want to make sure you had something to look at while I was talking about. Now, let's go ahead and get this out the way. I'm not about to sit here and clickbait you or anything like that. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you my comp for him right now. I'm not gonna sit here and hold y'all hostage and wait till the end to give it to you. I think as a ceiling, and I really want to emphasize ceiling, as a ceiling, I have Henry Ruggs without the bad off-the-field decision-making skills, man. I also saw a Curtis Samuel comp out there for him, and honestly, I like that because he does a lot of behind the line of scrimmage backfield stuff like Curtis Samuel did for us, or even Deebo Samuel will do now that he's currently on the Washington Commanders roster. We have Terry, we have Deebo, and now Lane, which probably gives us the best screen wide receiver team in the entire NFL. We're 3 deep at you could throw this guy a pass behind the line of scrimmage and he's liable to take it 30+ yards, especially Jaylin and Terry McLaurin. They could end up running for a 70-yard touchdown, just like how Terry McLaurin did that against the Detroit Lions in that playoff game. Jaylin is literally that. And I also really like that he's a local kid. I mean, it's not a necessity for them to be a local guy, but I definitely think there is a bonus to it. I mean, this guy is quick, elusive, has elite deep ball speed. He excels at the screen game, sweeps behind the line of scrimmage stuff, and he was put in motion and used a lot in the backfield at Virginia Tech. A lot of people don't realize that because of how fast he is. The fact that he ran a 4.34, people just immediately think deep threat. That's it, right? No, this guy is literally like Curtis Samuel and Deebo Samuel out of the backfield as well. He had 46 career runs in college. And before we go any further, shouts out to DC Mister who just donated to the CashApp. I'm not even live streaming, I'm recording a video and he donated, so I had to make sure I definitely took the time to really thank him for that CashApp donation. Shouts out to him. He said, "Hell to the Redskins, man." That's how we all feel, man. Shouts out to Adam Peters and those guys. But he wasn't the only one. I also got to give a big shout out to Dustin Spencer. Thank you for the donation. Again, I'm not even live streaming. For y'all to donate, I'm not even on screen for y'all actively right now live. That's amazing, man. I really appreciate y'all. And he even said that he's a Hokies fan and he doesn't mind the Lane pick. Let's go. Again, appreciate those donations from both of y'all, man. I had to stop mid-video to make sure I thank y'all for those, since y'all, I mean, just literally popped up on my phone right now while I was talking. But again, with Deebo Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and now Jaylin, you could argue that we have one of the best yards after catch receiving cores in the entire NFL. Get them the ball on a slant, get them the ball behind the line of scrimmage, and they're going to make something shake. We are now 3 deep at players like that. This guy is 5'10", 196 pounds, so he's not the biggest guy, but he was a 5-year player at the college level and spent time at MTSU before going to Virginia Tech. And over the course of his career, he amassed 2,532 yards and 18 touchdowns. Shouts out to Lance Zierlein of NFL.com. He said, quote, semi-versatile slot option with legitimate long speed and talent to add yardage with the ball in his hands. Lane can stretch defenses from the slot with his build-up speed and is a viable option in catch-and-run packages near the line of scrimmage. That's the most humble take on him. How about James Foster? He tweeted out, and this was back on March 16th. And this is a guy that does, I don't know if y'all checked out his videos on YouTube or checked out his website. He's very specific. Like he basically does like Madden rating level detail on every player in the draft class. Like he's talking about speed, quickness, explosion, route running, short route running, intermediate route running, deep ball route running ability, blocking. Like he breaks down every single small trait that you could possibly think of. Hands, contested catches, consistency with hand, like every single attribute. And so a guy that's that detail oriented back in March 16th tweeted with a highlight reel of Jaylin Lane, quote, so Jaylin Lane was the 42nd wide receiver I watched, but I'm probably going to have him in my top 10. Feels like I got to go back and edit every report where I called a player explosive because this is what it actually looks like. So the first 41 receivers that he watched for this draft class, he was handing out explosive here and there. He feels like after watching Jaylin Lane, he may need to take that back for a lot of, if not every guy that he said that about. Jaylin Lane is arguably the most explosive receiver in this entire draft class. And I want to make sure you know that this guy averaged 8.3 yards per catch and reception last season, which was 10th among all wide receivers with at least 50 targets last year. And so that kind of goes to James Foster's point about this guy may be a top 10 receiver in this entire class. To get him in the 4th round is insane, man. Shouts out to @GoatHouseNFL that breaks down a lot of draft stuff. Not a burgundy and gold fan, not a burgundy and gold reporter, purely just a draft guy. He said, underrated wide receiver due to lack of production. That was not his fault. Was constantly open, a very good route runner, slot wide receiver with some good arm length, sneaky good pick for Washington. Then you have the WWD expert consensus. They had him ranked 99th out of all players in the draft class. For us to get him at 128th is a steal. And they said, this is coming from You Good Munch, I hope that's how you pronounce his name. He said, quote, Lane put on a show at the combine, finishing in the top 3 for receivers in 10-yard split with a 1.5. He finished with a 4.34 in the 40 and a broad jump of 11 feet and a vertical of 40 inches. 20-yard short shuttle of 4.12 and a 3-cone drill of a 6.75. All ridiculous numbers, man. Finishing in the top 3 in every single one of those categories is insane. He's a dynamic player who caught, ran, passed, and returned a punt for a touchdown in 2024. I want to read that back to y'all. He caught a touchdown. He ran a touchdown. He passed for a touchdown and returned a punt for a touchdown, all just this past season, man. He can do it all. He's excellent with the ball in his hands, and I really want to emphasize the fact that he threw for a touchdown, because I believe when Cliff Kingsbury called up a play for, I think it was De'Ami Brown that threw a touchdown. Was it De'Ami Brown? I may be tripping, but either way, Cliff Kingsbury now has another receiver in his hands that he can like do a trick play and ask the receiver to throw the pass. Jaylin Lane can do that. He's literally thrown for a touchdown just this past season. We're not talking about in high school. We're talking about this past season. Caught, ran, passed, and returned a touchdown all in this most recent season. He's quick with the speed to pull away when he gets a crease. Lane makes defenders miss, breaks tackles. He's 5'10", but he breaks arm tackles. We're not just talking about a guy that makes people miss. He also runs through contact, and he follows his blocks really well. He has really good vision, especially for a receiver. He flashes as a route runner and has the skill set to get even better, and he's a natural pass catcher with big hands for his frame. His hands are bigger than they should be for a guy that's 5'10", so he's going to play bigger than his size just off of that alone. Also, shouts out to Ryan Fowler. He says some context here. Wide receiver Jaylin Lane had early day 2 grades from teams back in spring. So he's hearing this from NFL teams. He was supposed to get drafted round 3, maybe even round 2, and then the board just fell how it did. And then he also said versatile playmaker that wasn't done any favors with the offensive architecture of Virginia Tech this fall, where he was really put into a box. He's dynamic with the ball in his hands and can flat out fly. Ran a 4.34 in Indy. Cliff Kingsbury will allow him to be an athlete and expand the playbook. So again, Virginia Tech, you can see the common theme here, and I agree. Virginia Tech was limiting this guy between not good quarterback play. I'm not going to sit here and dog the Virginia Tech quarterback, but he wasn't Jaden Daniels. Between their offensive coordinator not being Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive line not being this top 5 offensive line that we've assembled. You know what I'm saying? And then not having guys like Terry and Debo around them to where defenses are focused on those guys rather than prioritizing stopping him. Jaylin Lane is going to shine in this offense. I'm telling you right now. Shouts out to Walter Football. He gave us a B+ grade for this. He said Jaylin Lane was projected to go around this range, and the Redskins were projected to draft a receiver despite acquiring Debo Samuel, because they're 2 different types of receivers. You know, Debo Samuel is the behind the line of scrimmage guy that we lost in De'Ami Brown, and then also Jaylin Lane is a deep threat, which we also lost in De'Ami Brown. De'Ami Brown was like decent at both of those. Debo Samuel is an elite behind the line of scrimmage guy, and Jaylin Lane is an elite deep ball threat. And also, I feel like he's better behind the line of scrimmage than De'Ami Brown as well. So, I mean, I feel like we just got huge upgrades with losing De'Ami Brown. We brought in 2 guys that replace him very well. And then Walter Football finished up by saying a slot receiver was needed, and this is where Lane can play. We'll get to that later when I'm talking about 3 birds, 1 stone. Slot receiver, let's get it. Now, you also have Chris Trapezo. Back in March 7th, he did an article. These 10 NFL draft sleepers had awesome combine workouts, but are they actually good prospects? I mean, he did a full breakdown. He was like, Bashal Tootin, killed it at the combine. Is he actually good? He said yes. How about my Georgia dog, Tyrion Ingram Dawkins? I disagree, but he said, is he any good? Actually, not really. Kitten Crawford out of Nevada, the safety. He said, is he good? Kinda, sorta. He said Jalen Conyers. He said he was good. But then you get to Jaylin Lane. He said, is he good? Flat out, yes. Worthy of all of the hype and all of the athletic testing measurables that he put on display at the combine. He said Jaylin Lane feels like a day 2 receiver now after the combine, especially, who in a few years will realize should have been a lock to go in round 1 in a weaker receiver class. Chris Trapezo feels like he wouldn't have been surprised if somebody took a chance on Jaylin Lane round 1. He said, think George Pickens, Rashee Rice, Jaden Reed, Nico Collins, or any other of the 3 studs who were picked in the 2nd round in 2019, Debo Samuel, AJ Brown, and DK Metcalf. He's that high on him. He thinks he has the potential to prove people wrong like those guys did. He said he's lightning in a bottle out of the slot. His feet look like they're moving at 1.5 speed you use when you're listening to your podcast on your nightly walk. Lane didn't run a variety of routes, but do you need to when you're quick underneath and can scare cornerbacks over the top with your pure speed? And when he does break off in a different direction, there's a discernible snap to it. Lane has yak niftiness to his game as well. And to that point that he's not a very refined route runner, he can gain that. But the things that he already has in his tool belt, you can't teach his speed, you can't teach his explosion, you can't teach his athleticism. You brought in Wes Welker to be a part of your offensive staff. If anybody can teach somebody to run better routes, it's the guy that purely only made a living off of being a savvy, nuanced route runner. He had no athleticism to his build at all. Wes Welker dreams of ever waking up and being as athletic as a Jaylin Lane. So if he can take his best skill sets and what he prioritizes as a receiver and put that in Jaylin Lane's brain with the body that Jaylin Lane has, the athleticism, that's easily, I can see where Chris Trapezo is coming away with that could arguably, he could live up to being a 1st round level talent at receiver. Also, shouts out to Chris Trapezo. He straight up just said, I like Jaylin Lane more than I like Jalen Noel. They share the same first name. He prefers Lane over him. And then also shouts out to Steelers Depot. They listed out all of his positive traits, and I agree. They said he possesses good play speed and explosiveness for the position, gets up to top speed quickly as a route runner as well with the ball in his hands too. Has large hands relative to his size to snag the football out of the air. That's a common theme that a lot of different experts agree on. Can make catches outside of his framework for a smaller receiver. He's going to play bigger than his 5'10 size. Don't worry about that. Has been utilized in the slot and in the backfield. He's a gadget guy that is great on jet sweeps, handoffs, and reverses. Cliff Kingsbury as your offensive coordinator, and you give him a guy like that, productive after the catch and a guy that you want in open space. He has good contact balance to fight through arm tackles. Again, he's going to play bigger than 5'10" when it comes to contested catches and yards after catch, running through arm tackles and breaking tackles. He also breaks off routes quickly underneath. That's a common theme as well. Has shown the ability to stretch the field vertically. I mean, 4.34, of course he can. And he's also proven in the return game as a specialist. Now, this gets to my point that at first I was saying he was 2 birds with 1 stone. Like, don't sleep on the additional value with the fact that he's also now, I believe, week 1, your starting punt returner and also one of your starting kick returners as well. He may not necessarily be the Turpin kid from the Cowboys, but first of all, who else is out of the entire NFL? And secondly, he's easily a better returner than anybody we threw out there in 2024. Better than older version of Jamison Crowder, who was lacking athleticism. Better than Butterfingers Olamide Zaccheaus. And better than slow accelerator Luke McCaffrey, who's still learning a position. Jaylin Lane is both faster and a better yak guy than all 3 of those guys I just talked to you about, just listed off. So not only have we gotten a more explosive slot receiver, not only did we get our true deep threat other than Terry McLaurin since De'Ami Brown left, but we also drafted our new game-changing returner. That's 3 birds with 1 stone. This guy had a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown against Marshall, and it was beautiful. If you haven't seen it yet, go look it up. And back in 2023, he reached a top speed of 20.9 miles per hour after he caught a pass and outran 2 defenders, made them tackle each other. Go look up that highlight as well. And shouts out to Ryan Fowler. He brings up a good point, man. The type of juice that Jaylin Lane is providing in Washington, expect him to be a core return man week 1. Commanders haven't had this type of burst to throw back as a return man since the Brandon Banks days. This will literally be our most athletic, quickest, fastest returner we've had since Brandon Banks, literally. Shouts out to Grant Paulson, too. Jaylin Lane was the Hokies punt returner last year, averaged 10 yards a pop, and scored a touchdown as a punt returner. I'd expect him to get a shot at handling those duties in DC. Between that and also being our fastest wide receiver right away, he will have a chance to help. Don't let that go over your heads. 10 yards per punt return, first of all, that's insane in itself. And on top of that, day 1, immediately as of today, he's our fastest receiver on roster. Even faster than Terry McLaurin, especially when you're looking at the tape. I mean, again, this guy is literally 3 birds with 1 stone, because if you prefer Deebo Samuel on the outside, or whenever Deebo Samuel is lined up in the backfield, Cliff Kingsbury is going to get really creative with him. Here's your starting slot receiver, especially until Luke McCaffrey finally develops. Terry outside, Noah Brown outside, Jaylin Lane in the slot, and Deebo would be allowed to line up anywhere on any given play. So this pick probably makes Deebo Samuel happier as well, because now he won't be forced to stay in the slot purely a lot of the time. This frees up Deebo Samuel to go in the backfield more often, go wherever he wants to go, shift outside, wherever. And then just to get back to the deep threat thing, I mean, dog, we have one of the best deep ball throwers in the entire NFL in Jaden Daniels. I mean, it would have been a shame to not have at least one other deep threat on the team outside of Terry McLaurin. Now we at least have 2. Because without Jaylin Lane, defenses were just going to focus on purely stopping Terry McLaurin from going deep, and then would have just allowed the entire rest of our receiving core just do whatever you want underneath. As long as you don't beat us deep, we're just going to focus on stopping Terry McLaurin from doing what he wants to do. Now you have to respect the entire field, which will also lighten up boxes for us in the run game. So, I mean, I hope we end up somehow with a running back that starts over Brian Robinson, but when in doubt of Brian Robinson, you start a running back, there should be far more open lanes because there will be less defenders in the box, because they have to worry about Jaylin Lane. And then going back to Luke McCaffrey, speaking of him real quick, and I'm joking, but am I really? Because that man may have a better shot of getting on the field at running back at this point, man. Especially with the fact that we did not draft a new running back or get one in free agency to start over Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler right now. I mean, think about it. Our wide receiver room right now is Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel via trade, Noah Brown. Those are your top 3 easily. With Jaylin Lane, I would put him 4th, maybe even 3rd. By the impact that he may have. I know he's young. I know he's still fairly raw when it comes to route running, but being a deep threat the way that he is, I wouldn't be surprised if he outperforms Noah Brown. But Noah Brown is so consistent and dependable that, I mean, I think at worst Jaylin Lane's 4th. Then you have Luke McCaffrey, Michael Gallup, and KJ Osborne. I mean, that's like 7 real wide receiver threats with more than likely only 6 spots available. And if anything, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like out of any of those people in that group, I think Michael Gallup or KJ Osborne are one of the guys that's an odd man out that ends up not making the roster. But think about how deep that wide receiver core is right there. That we have guys that may not make the roster this season that probably would have been our wide receiver too just a few years ago. Remember the Antonio Gandy golden days and things like that? I would have prayed for Michael Gallup and KJ Osborne back then. Now I'm thinking one of those guys may not even make the roster. But I mean, it's an interesting situation. I mean, Jaylin Lane, man, go back and look at the Senior Bowl. He killed Darian Porter. That was one of my favorite corners in the class. That guy ran a 4.3, and he's like 6'2", 6'3", and Jaylin Lane ran right past him for an easy deep shot touchdown in one-on-one drills. I mean, had him beat by like 2 yards on it and everything, and caught it so beautifully. He tracked the ball from behind. That's another trait that he has when it comes to being a deep threat. It doesn't matter how fast you are if you can't track the ball over your shoulder. He has that as well. He displayed that in that play too, man. Go check out his Senior Bowl, man. That boy Jaylin Lane is tough, man. Against some of the best corners in this entire draft class, he was killing them. And I want to go back to the athleticism real quick because this is where the ceiling comes in. Again, a 4.34 40-yard dash, man. NFL.com gave him an athleticism score of 90. So out of this entire 2025 wide receiver class, he had the 5th highest athleticism score. That's what we're talking about with ceiling, man. He also had the 5th highest relative athletic score out of all receivers in this draft class. So the ceiling is definitely there for him to keep improving. Look at it right now. The only thing that's keeping him from being a perfect 10 in the relative athletic score is literally his lack of size, his height, and his weight. Again, I'm not worried about that because his hands are bigger than a guy that's 5'10 should normally be, and he plays way bigger and stronger than a 190-pound receiver. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And his 9.68 relative athletic score is 112th out of 3,441 wide receivers that were drafted since 1987. 112th. That is elite athleticism. Again, he's arguably the 5th most athletic wide receiver in this entire draft class. And no matter how much of a genius you are, you can't teach that level of speed, that level of athleticism, man. If there's anybody I trust to get the most out of him, it's Cliff Kingsbury as one of the smartest offensive minds in all of football. You have Jaden Daniels as an elite top 5 quarterback that's going to maximize his value in production. And then the fact that I know I keep hyping up this Wes Welker signing, but I just feel like it's so perfect because we have all of these athletes, Luke McCaffrey, Jaylin Lane now included. Wes Welker only made a career from doing all of the little things right. If there's anybody that can teach these freak athletes to learn how to do all of the little things right, it's literally Mr. Do all of the little things right in Wes Welker. So I love it, man. I'm so excited. And then I was curious to hear from Jaylin Lane himself. And I even did some research on him from things that he said previously during the draft process. This is from like a couple of weeks ago. He was on the Draft Network. He said, quote, "I'm a dual threat guy. I can get open versus man and zone. I could be a difference maker on special teams. I'm an all-around athlete. I'm ready to showcase my speed." And then shouts out to Jaylin Lane because he was asked, "Do you see yourself returning kicks and punts in the NFL? You're so explosive." He said, "I definitely do. I can change the game as a kickoff and punt returner. I can flip the field. I can even play gunner on special teams. I love being a special teams guy." Now, you know that had Dan Quinn and Adam Peters drooling all over making sure they got him. Did the Eagles really just draft Smile London? Oh my God, Jahad Campbell and Smile London, and that's another Georgia dog. I'm happy to see it for Georgia dog, but as a Commanders fan, I'm sick to my stomach. But either way, shouts out to Jaylin Lane, because even before the Commanders took him, back on the K Adams show, back on March 19th, he was asked about his top 3 wide receivers in the NFL. I don't know if y'all remember this clip. He said Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Terry McLaurin as his top 3 receivers. So if there's anybody that's excited about playing with Terry McLaurin, learning from him, it's him. And he was very specific about it. Back when he was interviewed by Justin M. a while ago, like I think a couple of weeks ago, he talked about how his favorite receiver to watch was Terry McLaurin. He said, quote, "I love watching Terry McLaurin right now. He's very explosive. He knows how to get open. He has great hands. He makes great contested catches. I would love to play the game exactly like him," unquote. That's coming from Jaylin Lane before he was even drafted by the Washington Commanders. So this is a dream come true for him. So even if you don't necessarily love the pick, you got to love the fact that this kid loves the Commanders this much, and specifically Terry McLaurin. He was even asked about Jaden Daniels, and he was like, "Man, that boy different." So now I mean, would you say that we have potentially 2 Terry McLaurins on the team at the same time? I'm not going to go that far because Terry McLaurin is a top 10 receiver. We'll see about Jaylin Lane, but I'm excited to see what he becomes because he's also even excited as well. Jaylin Lane, while addressing the media after the Commanders picked him, talking about the Commanders, he said he's on cloud 9 right now. It's been a dream for him to make it to the NFL and told himself it doesn't matter what round he went in, as long as he gets a chance. That's the type of attitude that Dan Quinn loves right there as well. Willing to be a gunner, willing to contribute on special teams. Doesn't matter where I go in the draft. I'm just ready to get my chance and make the most of it. Also, he said that he plays with confidence, and he emphasized the importance of protecting the ball as a returner. That is big time. That made me fall more in love with him than I already did. He feels like he's going to be a big help catching punts for the Commanders. I completely agree. Now, granted, with Brian Robinson projected to be our starting RB1 going into this next season, I'm not too happy about that. But no matter what, in Adam Peters, I trust. I like the fact that, I mean, did y'all see that Sam Howell just got traded to the Vikings? Remember, we traded him to the Seahawks for a 3rd round pick. The Seahawks just sent them away to move up 30 spots in the 5th round. Not even to get an entire 5th round pick, a pick swap in the 5th round. That's probably the equivalent of like 7th round pick value. Adam Peters got a 3rd for that guy. Adam Peters is a genius. This guy took us from 4 wins to 14, man. Stop doubting him. I know y'all may not necessarily love, some of y'all may not love Jaylin Lane that much, but you gotta trust Adam Peters because the things he's done is insane. Speaking of Sam Howell real quick, just to veer off, I mean, Shadir finally getting drafted this late is insane in the first place, but speaking of Sam Howell, he and Sam Howell went the exact same pick with Sam Howell getting drafted a few years ago, the same exact pick. I thought that was really weird, man, because first of all, the Browns already drafted Dylan Gabriel. They have Joe Flacco. They have Deshaun Watson. I don't know what they got going on, man. I thought Dylan Gabriel was undrafted. So that's insane, man. I'm rooting for Shadir to prove everybody wrong. But back to the Commanders and the reason that we're here. Shouts out to DC Rising because I agree. He said every single one of Adam Peters' picks so far with the 3 that we've had have been either an insane athlete or a great value pick or both of the above. You could possibly make an argument that all 3 of our picks meet both of those criteria of insane athlete and great value. A steal should have gone sooner in the draft than where we got him. And then shouts out to Will_Big_Boss28 because he brings up a good point. Everybody was screaming to protect JD5. Everybody was screaming to get JD5 some weapons. Then Adam Peters does just that, and then fans are upset. I thought that was hilarious. And then even shouts out to @Denton Day because he did a survey, and so far where I see it, where we have up to, what, about 400 and... No, actually, it's still at 388 votes. He asked, how do you feel about the Virginia Tech Jaylin Lane pick? Love the pick, 34.8%. Like the pick, 56.2%. Don't like the pick, 8%. And there's only a 1% that said they hate the pick. So I think that's right around like, love. I can see somewhere in between there. That makes a lot of sense. So even though there are a lot of fans out there that's doom and gloom and upset about the pick, for the most part, a lot of us either at least like the pick, and a lot of us, even almost 40%, love the pick, man. And also, I do want to remind y'all that there are a lot of free agents out there that Adam Peters can still get as veterans to help improve this roster. So we're looking at edge, Zadarius Smith. We're looking at safety, Justin Simmons, especially. I really want Justin Simmons at safety. Let's go get those guys after the draft, and let's go win a Super Bowl, man. And then also, before we get up out of here, shouts out to Quan Martin. Because out of nowhere, after we drafted Jaylin Lane, he spoke to the media and he revealed that he had surgery on both his shoulders this offseason. He played with 2 separated shoulders last year, and the first one occurred in week 3. So that's ridiculous toughness, man. Shouts out to Quan Martin for laying his body on the line like that. But my main takeaway is a fully healthy Quan Martin is going to be way better than what we even saw last year. The guy was playing with 2 separated shoulders. Playing with 1 separated shoulder since week 3 at least. Who knows when the second one happened? So I'm only expecting even better things out of Quan Martin next year. Again, let's go win a Super Bowl, man. This is a Super Bowl winning roster right here. I firmly believe. And yes, sir, that's the end of this video. Please make sure y'all like that button, man. I'm all scrambled, so that's why I'm tripping over my words and stuff like that, because I got to hurry up and get this video out so I can hurry up and get back to the draft so I can live stream before we make our pick. But either way, man, I really appreciate y'all, man. Make sure you leave a like on the way out. Make sure you stiff arm that like button. Make sure you let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything we discussed in this video, man. Do you agree with the Jaylin Lane hype? Or am I going too far? Do you feel like the Henry Ruggs ceiling comp is too rich? Do you feel like Curtis Samuel's too rich? Let me know how you feel. What is your exact comp for him? Do you like him over Jalen Noel like some draft experts feel like? I mean, a lot of these guys feel like this was a home run pick, still in the 4th round. Again, you have Chris Trapezoid. It feels like a couple of years from now, people are going to regret not taking them in the 1st round type of stuff. So let me know how you feel about this Jaylin Lane pick. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of my opinions and points. Let me know how you feel about theirs. Do you agree with me that he's a 3 birds in 1 stone, a starting slot receiver, a deep threat, and our starting returner? Let me know how you feel about all of that. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all stay tuned for all of the further content. I'm trying to live stream before we pick in this 6th round, so pull up and stay tuned for that as well. I'm going to catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. And I'm breaking down every single draft pick. I'm working on film sessions for all of our draft picks as well. So go become a channel member if you haven't. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.